Coming in with the bases loaded. Go out there and get somebody out. I'm Stan Verrett. I'm one of the anchors on SportsCenter from Los Angeles every night. I got that job here at NABJ. My job at ESPN was 16 years ago here at NABJ. I've been coming here since 1995. It feels like homecoming now. All those names that Mike mentioned and Mark and it's always a great time when I come here. It's great to see so many faces. And I know we keep beating this message about mentorship home. This is a mentor breakfast, but it's a very important concept. I'm looking out here, I see Tiffany Green, who, I'm gonna stand up, Tiffany. Tiffany's now with us at ESPN. I remember when Tiffany was in college FAMU, and Tiffany, she had that look in her eye, you know, and those of us who've been doing it for a while, when we see somebody with that look, we know this person's gonna make it. And I remember Tiffany, now Tiffany's with us at ESPN working at the network level. Darren Haynes, I remember watching Darren's tape, doing the same thing that Ralph Wiley did to Mike. I used to do to Darren's tapes. Darren's a SportsCenter anchor with us as well. So it means I'm becoming an old head now, which is a concept that I'm gonna have to get comfortable with. I'm here this morning to talk about one of the most important people in the history of the network where I am now. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Stuart Scott. Unlike Larry Whiteside or Ralph Wiley, you saw Stuart do his thing when he was at ESPN. We miss him dearly. And we have an internship and scholarship named in his honor that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. But for those of you who didn't know Stuart, who only saw him on television, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight as to who he was. I used to come to NABJ. I got to ESPN in 2000. I've been coming to NABJ since 1995. So those first 5 years, you know, I used to look at the network sports guys like, you know, these were the people doing what I wanted to do, and I would just watch them. Like I was sort of scared to approach them sometimes. I just wanted to watch them just to see how they flowed, how they vibe, you know. And then I found out Stuart was an alpha, and I'm an alpha as well. And so that was sort of our connection. So I knew Stuart, and we became friends before I ever worked at ESPN. And when I got to LA 7 years ago, and Stuart was in Bristol still, and so he would come out and do shows in LA from time to time, but this was always our time to catch up at NABJ, so we'd always spend some time. A lot of times that involved golf. We would sneak away and play golf. I remember when the convention was in Atlanta, I don't remember what year it was, but we went out to play golf at Eastlake. And Stuart's a very competitive guy, so we're playing golf, and we're not really competing on the front nine, we're just kind of watching each other. So we get to the back nine, and Stuart says, okay, let's play match play, loser buys lunch after the round. I said, okay, you know, I'm down for that. So we have a caddy, and the same caddy's carrying both of our bags. So we tee off on the 10th hole, and my ball is in the right rough, and Stuart's ball is in the left rough. So the caddy goes to Stuart's ball first, and Stuart hits his shot. And I said, man, that's a good shot out of that rough. I mean, it's thick, deep rough. Man, that's a good shot. So the caddy comes over to me, pulls a sand wedge out of my bag, and he starts fluffing my ball up in the rough, like, you know, sitting there giving me a real. I said, man, what are you doing, man? I play it as it lies. I mean, that's cheating. He's like, well, you're going to lose because he's doing it. So it's just an idea how competitive Stuart was. He loved golf, but the love of his life, if you know anything about him, was his two girls, Sydney and Taylor. And I believe Taylor's here today. Taylor? There she is. You couldn't talk to Stuart for 5 minutes without his daughters coming up. He also was very proud to be one of the standard bearers for ESPN. I mean, those of you who watch, the younger people here who watch ESPN now, and you see the funky vibe that ESPN has, you see the pop culture references and those sorts of things. I mean, Stuart was one of the most important people in the history of the network in terms of setting that agenda. Expanding ESPN beyond just sports, bringing pop culture into the lexicon, into his broadcast, and that wasn't always a popular thing. Stuart got hate mail about it. You know, people were like, "What's up with the booyah and the church say amen and all? What is all that?" But to their credit, I think ESPN executives realized that they didn't necessarily have to get it; the audience got it. And because of that, they gave Stuart the reign to do what he needed to do, and we all saw what the results were. I mean, it made it easier for everybody, not just black folks. Like when I got there, it was easier for me to be me and to make references that maybe people didn't understand because Stuart had done it and had been successful, but also people like Craig Kilborn, who was kind of out there, and my co-anchor Neil Everett, who gets kind of out there sometimes. I mean, they're free to be themselves because Stuart was himself, and they said, well, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do this, a lot of different ways to present this information. Then, of course, just a few years ago, when Stuart made public his courageous battle with cancer, his life and his contribution became more about his will than his work on SportsCenter. Those of you who saw his speech at the ESPYs a couple of years ago, I'm sure you'll never forget it. It was moving. One of the big takeaways from his speech was, you beat cancer in the manner in which you live your life. And I think that goes beyond those of us who may be fighting cancer or dealing with other problems. I mean, that's true for all of us. We make a difference in the manner in which we live our lives. So I'll always remember that about Stuart. Now, this internship and scholarship is named for him. It's the NABJ Stuart Scott Internship and Scholarship. Last year we had 80 applicants, and the winner was Bamadeli Udowu, who couldn't be here today because he's so smart, so gifted, that he's actually doing a fellowship in London, something totally unrelated to what he did at ESPN. I mean, I've never met him, but I've heard from people in Bristol, he might be president of the company by the end of this breakfast. So 80 students, he was a winner. So the application's open in January, I'm told. You can log on, those of you who are in college. There's some money involved too. So check it out on the NABJ website, the NABJ Stuart Scott Internship and Scholarship. Thank you, enjoy the convention. See you at the party tomorrow night.